For a long time, people have been asking us, yo, where can I find like kimono-like pieces, bro? You got the inside scoop, like you in Japan, let me know. And frankly, I must say, I slipped up, that's my bad. So I got a few for you now. I'm gonna make it up to you right now. And while these aren't all kimono, in fact, that's an entirely different episode where we go over what these are actually called, these traditional Japanese garments. We'll dispense with the snobbishness for now, and I hope you all know what I mean. Like stuff that looks like kimono. So here are 7 brands that have kimono-like pieces, all based on different factors. Should be awesome. I'm your boy Reggie Casual. Let's get it. All right, so as noted at the onset, for this list, we're breaking down each of these traditional Japanese garments based on category and role of the piece. So you'll kind of get what we mean when we start. So with that being said, the best value, right? See, now you get it. For us, that goes straight to Vanquish. While Vanquish doesn't just dabble in kimono, haori, and noragi styles, they have a great array of takes and pretty good prices, all things considered, particularly during sales where you can get some for up to 40% off. However, if you're looking for something more traditional, Vanquish may not be your best option, typically because they combine certain Western styles, accents, or street influence into their kimono-like pieces. Like say an MA-style noragi or a bomber-inspired haori. It's cool if you're going for that, but if you want something a bit more subtle, it might be a hard pass. However, value plus those takes, and if you wanna mesh your style with kimono instead of going full-blown traditional, Vanquish is a great starting spot. Next up, we have the most offerings. Like how, it just has a lot. There's a lot you can get at a mid-range value. This goes to CAMBIO, hands down. Now, if you don't know CAMBIO, that's okay. It's not known outside of Japan as it's pretty localized, but they have plenty of kimono-like pieces with different looks, colors, sizes, and silhouettes. The quality is also pretty darn good for the price, and you won't miss out on some more unique takes as well. And that's what we're looking for, right? Something that can mesh well and that's unique. It's a good all-arounder, to say the least. However, most of their takes often go into oversized territory, both in width and length. So if you're looking for noragi styles, that is the kind of mid-cut, this is probably not the best brand to look for. We seriously do need a lesson though in what these are actually called, but I digress. It's just another lesson. But just so you guys know, these are all traditionally inspired Japanese pieces. They're not all called kimono directly. However, about CAMBIO, there is a warning, particularly if you are under 6 feet. These will prove to be very difficult to style, often making you look like a kid dressed up as a ghost for Halloween. You really should think about it. The only consolation that you have is that most Japanese are under 6 feet and have been wearing these styles for hundreds of years. So if you need reference, take reference from them. They know what they're doing and they've been doing it for a long time. So definitely use that as inspiration rather than just saying, I don't know what to do with this and get lost in the garment, both literally and figuratively. Next up, we got our best in class, and that goes to fundamental. And most of you know what fundamental is, but what is meant by best in class? And now if we're looking at value plus fit and offering without going so traditional that you look like you came out of the set of The Last Samurai, then fundamental is the best in class. It's pricier than most, but not life savings pricey, and its quality is second to none, which is also a plus. The pieces they have are unique and timeless and can pretty much fit into anyone's wardrobe, particularly if your wardrobe is workwear or Americana inspired, because fundamental typically uses denim, canvas, twill, and patchwork techniques. However, that may be a little bit off-putting for those that have a more monochrome style or don't really get down with those fabrics or denim. These pieces from fundamental also require time to settle in. Like in order for them to feel like they are supposed to feel, they have to be worn a lot so they become more supple, such as the case with the fabrics that they use. You denim fans know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you frequently change styles, fundamental might be a skip. But if you dig deep and stick with it, nothing gets better than fundamental. Fundamental typically has a standard sizing structure as well, so oversized and voluminous pieces are rare, and most kimono-like pieces sit comfortably on the shoulders provided it's the right size. So if you take your measurements and you get something that is from fundamental and it has your measurements, it should fit perfectly. Next up, we have Capital, and that gets our most unique award. Like many of the labels on this list, of course, Capital obviously doesn't just dabble in kimono Noragi styles. It has plenty of other offerings. However, it's solidly placed in the most daring takes of traditional Japanese garments, from skeleton motifs printed on one to even rainbow nylon jacket styles. It gets kind of crazy at Capital, but that's not a bad thing. Capital is basically a place where you go to find grails you never even thought you wanted, which is why it's so desirable. The only issue is that because of its uniqueness and the techniques used, Capital can get quite pricey. Some pieces going beyond the $500 USD mark easily, which, if we're being honest, cuts out a lot of people from partaking, and that's about the only real negative when we talk about Capital. If you want a unique take on kimono-like pieces, Capital is the first choice, at least in my opinion, if you're willing to spend the cash and you're willing to take in a bit of commitment. Of course, Visvum, we gotta mention Visvum, that comes in next, and long overdue for a WTH, we'll get to that. But that being said, it comes in as the most premium. It gets our most premium award. You kind of get that. At Visvum, you're getting the most timeless, which is going to require the biggest investment out of all the brands on this list. Visvum is famous for its material curation and make, so if you're looking for kimono jackets at Visvum, it's going to cost you a lot. That's not to say they don't have some mid-range items, and by mid-range, I mean Visvum mid-range was around $400 USD. The most interesting, however, and game-changing are the near $1,000 range pieces, with some even reaching 2 racks, which is ridiculous. Needless to say, if you're going in the Visvum direction, it requires some dedication, because it's a big investment. It may be rich for some pockets, but the quality combined with its timelessness is certainly the draw here. I usually only suggest Visvum for individuals who plan to go ham with that label or that style, as it does require distinct taste and an even more distinct wallet. Coming in at the most experimental, we got ANEI. ANEI is a new label spearheaded by former Yohji Yamamoto pattern maker Yu Haneshi, and it's one of my personal new favorites. In fact, the name of the label is the middle of his name, ANEI, Haneshi, ANEI, right? So I just thought that was cool to mention. Anyway, it's not only a slick, colorful take on Yohji adjacent design, it's a standout among Japanese design, period. That's not just my opinion. Haneshi Yu was a Tokyo Fashion Award winner and is setting up to become a star among Japanese designers. So you should study him and his collections off of that alone. His take on traditional kimono ultimately goes together with his design methodology. So while it's experimental, you'll likely have to indulge in ANEI completely to appreciate it. And that should be expected, as the designer does come from the house of Yohji Yamamoto. ANEI typically goes in a more elegant direction while adding street-like influences that happily mesh with voluminous silhouettes. And if you're a fan of that symbiosis like me, then you need to look no further for the entire label. However, due to its style commitment, some may feel it's a bit much and maybe too traditional for their taste, or at least it goes too far in one style direction for it to be a viable choice. However, it's just cool, and I think that most people should check it out just because it looks cool. I would definitely suggest ANEI for fans of Boris Bajan Siberi, Yohji Yamamoto, of course, and the bevy of Japanese designers that go along with that design methodology. Stick in some and the millimeter, and you pretty much can do it with little issue if you're a fan of those brands. Of course, if you don't have those labels in your closet, or at least the style that those labels represent, don't let that stop you from getting creative and experimental yourself with a brand like ANEI. I'm just saying it might be easier for individuals who do partake in those styles already. And finally, the most traditional that makes our list goes to TROVE. Now, we've spoken about TROVE before, so if you want a full look, or at least a partial look at that label, check out that episode where we covered it. In short, TROVE is actually in the business of modernizing the traditional kimono, so its take is far more direct than some of the more design heavy on this list. That considered, you should expect with TROVE that wearing a item by TROVE, at least in the kimono department, you will unmistakably look like as if you were wearing kimono. For some, that may be the draw, and for others, that may be what keeps them away. Also, TROVE makes a habit of using varying fabrics on those kimono-like pieces, so the dynamic of it is actually quite open, which is It's really awesome because you get to experiment with different fabrics while using kimono. So it feels different than what you're used to. While it requires a bit of fearlessness, not much is better for kimono-inspired garments because Trove is basically kimono, at least the most rudimentary and basic meaning of kimono and how we view it. And that's it for this list, but there are plenty of other options out there. Certain vintage shops in Japan sell traditional Japanese garments quite a bit, so that's an option if you're located in Japan, and I recognize some of you aren't, so maybe we'll go out one of these days and show you what they have to offer. That's just a little hint that we might be doing something special. Labels like Lab Musician also dabble in traditional Japanese pieces, and it's a really good label altogether, so you should definitely check it out. There's also a whole segment of cardigans in Japan that are styled like kimono across several labels, and that should be expected. It is Japan. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AKASHI coming out of California. I think it's the Bay Area, and it's probably the most approachable take on traditional Japanese garments, kimono, noragi, and the like. And the owner is, I think he's Nikkei, I think he's Japanese American. So, I mean, it's pretty authentic, and his take is combining Japanese and American sensibilities. So if you're looking for something that fits into your wardrobe directly and has an American mindset with Japanese influence, that's the label I would definitely suggest if you're at least getting started, or you want to try something and you don't want to go too far with it. In fact, you should support it anyway because it's an independent label and it's an up-and-comer and he's doing great work and the quality is amazing. Don't take it from me, take it from all the other people who've enjoyed the product, and you should definitely check it out. I'm hyping him up right now because I think he does good work. So shout out to them. Other than that, name some other labels that you think can help you with this style, or if you like some of the ones on this list, let us know. Or if there's another label out there, maybe some of you guys study Japanese fashion, be like, yo, you forgot to say this one. We're always forgetting stuff. Maybe we'll do another list. In any case, say it in the comments, but most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu, and I'll see you guys in a minute.